This program is about modified diets. After viewing this videotape, you will be able to state 3 dietary modifications for a patient on a low-cholesterol, low-fat diet. Identify 3 foods high in sodium. Identify 3 foods which are good sources of potassium. Describe 2 points of successful dieting, and discuss 1 care delivery strategy for the patient with eating difficulties and a poor appetite. At key places in this video, we will pause and ask you specific questions about what you have learned. If you can answer the questions, you are ready to continue. Should you have difficulty answering the questions, please rewind the tape and review that section again.
The flood of terms in nutrition is overwhelming. Sometimes it is difficult to keep the good guys and the bad guys straight. However, it is important to recognize who they are and how they can help us or harm us. Rickets, scurvy, sprue, anemia, goiter, night blindness. We discovered that certain nutrients missing from our diet directly cause diseases. The most thorough research on nutrition ever conducted by our federal government is making more clear connections between diet and disease. While much of the information is not new, it is now supported by a mass of evidence. The National Center for Health Statistics says poor diet plays a role in 75% of all deaths. 8 of the top 10 diseases are related to diet. The National Cancer Institute states that 1/3 of all cancer deaths are related to what we eat, and believes a high-fiber, low-fat diet reduces the risk of some cancers. Excesses are dangerous. Too much sugar, too much fat, too much alcohol, too many calories. Overweight, often a result of overeating, is America's #1 health hazard. Dull hair, brittle nails, fragile skin that bruises easily or heals slowly, rashes, cracks on the side of the mouth, sensitivity to the sun, and poor muscle tone are all signs of nutritional imbalance. Convincing evidence from other cultures shows that not only can certain foods in our diet hurt us, but other foods can actually protect us. Studies on Africans, whose diets are 80% fiber, showed relatively few cases of colon cancer, diverticulosis and other intestinal diseases, heart disease, and diabetes. People in Japan eat much less beef and fat, but more salt and pickled foods. They have less colon, rectal, and breast cancer associated with fat, but more stomach cancer linked to salty foods. We are in the midst of a war on degenerative diseases that begin their slow but deadly progression while we are outwardly young and healthy. Plaque deposits in the arteries of soldiers who died in Vietnam show that atherosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries, begins years before symptoms appear. This videotape will discuss the relationship between diet and disease. A balanced diet can reduce the chances of developing disease and help fight infections. We can modify diets to prevent health problems, treat illness, and minimize symptoms of disease. With your knowledge of basic nutrition now firmly in place, you can apply it to satisfy both the restrictions of a modified diet and the likes and dislikes of your patients. It is not easy to change lifelong patterns. Mark Twain said, "Habit is not to be flung out the window by any man, but coaxed downstairs a step at a time." Your patients may depend on you to help them take those steps to overcome old eating habits, to understand and adjust to their diets, to offer advice and encouragement. Your nursing supervisor will review the diet the physician has ordered and be available for questions or problems that might come up. I will introduce you to 2 patients. Through a discussion of their needs, you will learn some basic dietary modifications and techniques you will use over and over again. First, I would like you to meet Joe. He was a steam fitter for a large construction company. 10 years ago, he had every risk factor for heart disease. He was male, over age 50, a cigarette smoker, and his father died of a heart attack. Joe also had high blood levels of cholesterol and triglycerides, was overweight, and had high blood pressure or hypertension. And he was a type A personality, hard driving, tense, a workaholic, under daily stress. A heart attack forced major changes in Joe's lifestyle. He quit smoking, began a special diet, retired, and learned how to relax. He spent time with his family, took grandchildren on outings, went fishing with friends, visited relatives he hadn't seen for years, and did woodworking projects. Joe learned to enjoy and appreciate life, and continued to be productive. But sadly for Joe, hypertension, high blood cholesterol, and obesity have worked their evil slowly over time. Hypertension damaged his blood vessels, especially those in the heart, brain, and kidneys. Extra pounds increased the workload of the heart and contributed to high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Everyone is born with clean arteries, but over the years, fatty materials or plaque builds up, resulting in atherosclerosis. The inner walls of Joe's arteries were narrowed and irregular, clogged with debris that reduced the vital blood supply to all areas of his body. His heart attack occurred when a clot plugged a coronary artery that supplies the heart muscle itself. Joe's heart muscle was weakened by years of overwork until it failed to pump blood effectively. He now suffers from congestive heart failure. He tires easily and is short of breath with the slightest exertion. His ankles are swollen from edema, fluid trapped in the tissues. Along with medicine, his physician wants him to continue a diet that is low in saturated fat, cholesterol, and sodium. Diet is important because too much cholesterol, saturated fat, and salt are deadly. Cholesterol is a waxy substance carried by the blood for use in all body cells. Our liver produces enough to meet all our needs, so too much cholesterol in our diet can cause problems. Foods of animal origin, meat, poultry, fish, dairy products, and egg yolks contain cholesterol. When we eat these foods, excess cholesterol combines with fats and proteins to form two lipoproteins. Low-density lipoproteins, or LDLs, are the bad cholesterol. They build the plaque of atherosclerosis, which leads to heart attack and stroke. High-density lipoproteins, or HDLs, are the good cholesterol. They act like chimney sweeps and actually remove plaque. A discussion of cholesterol also includes fat, as the two go hand in hand. There are two types of fat, saturated and unsaturated. Saturated fats increase cholesterol, and LDLs, bad cholesterol. Saturated fats are usually hard at room temperature. Most are from animal sources, such as meat and dairy products, lard, butter, and bacon drippings. Some sources of saturated vegetable fats are coconuts, palm, coconut, and palm kernel oils, chocolate, and solid and hydrogenated shortenings. Hydrogenated means that fat or oil is changed from liquid to solid, making it more saturated. Polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats are mostly from vegetable sources and are liquid at room temperature. Canola, safflower, sunflower, corn, cottonseed, sesame, olive, and soybean oils, nuts, olives, fish, and peanuts and avocados and their oils are mostly unsaturated. They lower blood cholesterol levels. Substitute oils for some or all animal fat or hydrogenated vegetable fats in cooking. Use no more than 5 to 8 teaspoons of fat and oils a day for cooking, baking, and salads. And be careful. Cholesterol-free foods may contain saturated fat. So how do we translate a low-cholesterol, low-fat diet into a shopping list? As always, begin with the 4 food groups and then modify the diet. To reduce fat from the milk group, use skim milk and low-fat or skim milk dairy products. They have the same food value without unwanted saturated fat. Reading labels is critical. 1 cup of ice cream has 15 grams of saturated fat, and 1 cup of low-fat frozen yogurt has less than 2, a much better choice. Avoid cheese that has more than 2 grams of fat per ounce. Avoid non-dairy substitutes for coffee cream, whipping cream, and sour cream. Most are made with saturated oils. Limit meat, fish, and poultry to 6 ounces a day. Serve fish and poultry more often than meat. White meat from chicken and turkey has the least fat and cholesterol. Remove the skin to cut fat calories in half. Buy lean ground beef, labeled no more than 15% fat. Choose lean cuts of meat and trim the fat. Pour off fat after browning. Broil, bake, cook, and microwave meat. Do not fry or deep fry. Buy processed meats with no more than 2 grams of fat per ounce. Avoid fatty meats like corned beef, frankfurters, ribs, sausage, bacon, and luncheon meats. Limit organ meats to once a month, shrimp to once a week, and egg yolks to 3 a week, including what you use in cooking. These are all high in cholesterol. Use vegetable proteins such as dried beans, peas, lentils, soybean curd or tofu from the meat group with rice and pasta dishes in place of meat. Check ingredients carefully. Any cereal is good unless it is made with coconut oil. Breads, rolls, crackers, snacks, even pastries and desserts are all right as long as they are not made with egg yolks, saturated fats, or whole milk products. Avoid baked goods, cookies, cake and bread mixes, candies, and fried foods, usually made with lard, coconut oil, palm oil, or shortening, all high in saturated fats. Almost all vegetables and fruits are low in fat and have no cholesterol. Eat plentiful amounts. These foods are filling, so you won't crave as many high-fat foods, and they contain fiber, which also lowers blood cholesterol. Sodium is a mineral that occurs naturally in salt. It plays a role in maintaining fluid balance in the body. However, in patients with certain heart conditions, hypertension, and kidney disease, sodium contributes to edema, fluid buildup in the blood and tissues. A physician prescribes a sodium-restricted diet to limit or prevent this problem. Joe has followed a low-sodium diet since his heart attack, using small amounts in cooking, but avoiding foods with high sodium content. Now Joe's diet is even more restricted due to his ankle edema. Everything he eats must be carefully checked to exclude items which are canned or preserved with salt. The taste of salt is learned, usually early in life. If you can cut back gradually, you get used to the new flavor. Joe's taste buds have already adjusted. He really doesn't miss the salty flavor he once craved. However, someone just beginning a low-sodium diet is a challenge to caregivers. Why not use a salt substitute? Because a salt substitute replaces part of the sodium with potassium. It may be harmful to some people, especially those with kidney disease. A physician should prescribe the use of a salt substitute. Foods are really better when flavored without them anyway. Here are some tips. Use low-sodium fruits and vegetables for delicious flavor enhancement. The tangy taste of freshly squeezed fruits like lemon. Add zest to the natural goodness of salads and vegetables. Add orange and lemon slices to chicken and fish. Add tomatoes, mushrooms, green peppers, and onion wedges to meat, both when cooking and serving. Experiment with herbs and spices. Shopping itself poses a challenge. One serving of tomato soup contains over 650 milligrams of sodium, too much for patients like Joe. A slice of white bread may have almost as much sodium as a 1-ounce bag of potato chips. Read labels carefully for Na, the symbol for sodium, or hidden sodium, as in monosodium glutamate and other sodium-based preservatives. Look for low salt, no salt, and no salt added. Quick cooking and most prepared cereals contain salt. Safe choices are oatmeal and puffed rice and wheat. Avoid high-sodium foods like corned beef, frankfurters, sausage, bacon, ham, bologna or lunch meats, canned and dried soups and bouillon cubes, processed cheeses, sauerkraut, and other brined vegetables like pickles and olives, salted crackers and snacks like nuts, pretzels, and potato chips, highly seasoned sauces, Worcestershire, barbecue, and soy, baking powder and its products, condiments like ketchup, seasonings like garlic, onion, and celery salt, TV dinners, cocoa, and chocolate. And your patients on low-sodium diets should not eat fast food. Most fast foods are very high in sodium, as well as saturated fat. Joe, like most patients with heart disease, must also pay attention to potassium. Most people get enough potassium from the foods they eat, but because Joe is taking diuretics and blood pressure medicine, he is losing potassium through increased urination. Without enough potassium, he could develop symptoms such as muscle cramps or weakness, lack of appetite, nausea, or intestinal upset. To replace lost potassium, Joe's physician ordered a diet high in potassium-rich foods. These include orange, tomato, grapefruit, and prune juice, dried prunes, raisins and dates, bananas, melons and apricots, white or sweet potatoes, dried peas and beans, tomatoes and greens, whole grain breads and cereals, coffee, and tea. Before we move on, let's review. Can you identify sources of cholesterol and saturated fat in your diet? Why should a patient with heart disease limit his sodium intake? What food should he avoid? What are some foods that are high in potassium? For years, Joe's doctor had warned him about the health risk of being overweight. But his efforts to lose weight were half-hearted. He'd lose a few pounds, then gain them back, and gradually add more. After his heart attack, however, Joe got serious about the diet and exercise plan his doctor recommended. On a low-fat, low-cholesterol, low-sodium diet, and using the recommended servings from the basic 4 food groups, he lost 25 pounds and developed healthy eating habits. He maintained his ideal weight until recently. As pounds began to inch upward, his doctor decided it was again time to get tough. He asked a dietitian to review Joe's diet and develop a plan that would reduce his total calories to 1,500 a day so he could lose the weight he gained. Joe had been given information about calories, but he never had to count them. But to maintain a proper body weight, Joe must understand how calories work. As miles are a measure of distance, calories are a measure of energy. They measure the amount of energy in food. The more calories food has, the more energy it provides. Joe checked out the calories of his favorite foods. Joe learned that there are 270 calories in a cup of sherbet, 95 calories in a half cup of fruit cocktail. A hard roll has 155 calories, and there are 300 calories in 3 ounces of roast beef. Calories also measure the amount of energy we use to breathe, grow, heal, move about, for almost everything related to daily living. Although these figures are rough estimates, when sleeping, we might burn less than 50 calories an hour. Sitting quietly and reading, 50 to 100. Light exercise like painting pictures, sweeping, or riding a lawnmower requires 100 to 200 calories per hour. For walking, vacuuming, or light gardening, we use 200 to 300 calories. Dancing, fast walking, or pushing a hand mower burns at least 300 to 400 calories. Cycling, running, chopping wood, hard physical labor or activity demands even more calories. In an ideal situation, we would eat only as many calories as we would use for energy in the course of the day. However, most of us are not ideal. The calories in food we don't use is stored as fat and we gain weight. It takes 3,500 calories to make a pound of fat. Looking at the changes in Joe's life since he had congestive heart failure, explain why Joe gained weight, even though he was eating the same way. Joe had used 300 calories when he took his daily walk. Now he was reading instead of walking, which burns only 50 calories an hour. This meant that he was now eating 250 calories more per day than he was using. In 1 month, that's 7,500 calories, or a gain of 2 pounds in fat. At that rate, in 1 year, Joe would gain 24 pounds and be right back where he was before his heart attack. Joe knows the danger that extra weight poses, and he has proven that he can make dietary adjustments and stick to them if he wants to. Now he is eager to learn more about his diet plan and is confident that he will soon be in shipshape condition. Unfortunately, 50 million Americans are not doing as well as Joe. Obesity is our most serious nutritional concern. This weighty problem has grown to colossal proportions, affecting up to 50% of adults. At least 60% of people in their 60s are overweight. In the last 25 years, overweight in children aged 6 to 11 has become more common. At least 10% of elementary school children are affected. 1 of every 3 adolescents aged 12 to 17 are overweight. How much should we worry about the ballooning of America? Consider these facts. While many overweight people seem to live normal, healthy lives, obesity may invite, cause, promote, worsen, and complicate illness and disease. Not only does obesity make us uncomfortable, it can kill us. Consider the stress on the heart and circulatory systems. It takes 15 to 25 miles of blood vessels to support each extra pound. No wonder heart disease, strokes, hypertension, and varicose veins are more common in those who are overweight. There is also an increase in diabetes, gallbladder disease, arthritis and gout, high blood fat levels and atherosclerosis, hernias, and breathing difficulties. In addition, the added weight greatly strains joints, increases the probability of accidents and the risks of surgical complications, and hampers the sweat mechanisms, making patients more susceptible to high heat and humidity. Limited mobility and flexibility may reduce independence, hinder good personal hygiene, restrict activities, and cause occupational and economic limitations. Because society generally views obesity as unattractive, it is often insensitive and unaccepting of people who are overweight. Social rejection often affects the mental health of the overweight and leads to depression, loss of self-esteem, and withdrawal. Life is not only less healthy for the obese, it is also shorter. Those who are 10 pounds over their ideal weight increase their chance of death by 8%. At 20 pounds overweight, the mortality rate is 18% greater, and at 30 pounds, it is 28% greater. A 50-year-old man who is 50 pounds overweight cuts his life expectancy to half that of a man his age whose weight is normal. The risk of sudden death from a heart attack triples for a person whose weight is 20% greater than the ideal. But there is good news. As we bring our weight back down to normal, our life expectancy goes up, and many of the health problems that are linked to obesity go down. But it is much easier to prevent obesity than to correct it. As researchers learn more and more about the dangers of obesity, they are also gaining insight into the causes. Perhaps understanding why we become overweight can help us counteract it. We used to divide fat people into two categories: those who had a gland problem and those who were gluttons, or people who eat too much. Now we know that just a tiny percent of the weight problems are actually caused by metabolic or glandular disorders. And although obesity occurs when we consume more food than our body needs, we all know thin people who are gluttons, able to eat huge meals and desserts drenched with calories and never gain an ounce, while others seem to lure pounds just glancing at food. Clearly, there are more complex factors to consider than overeating. Some of them are genetic, environmental, psychological, and economic. The genes we inherit largely determine whether we are fat, thin, or somewhere in between. Of course, our genes determine our sex, height, and body structure, which all affect our weight. Where our fat is located may be as important as the degree of fatness. Fat concentrated in the abdomen is often linked with high blood fat and blood sugar levels and hypertension. And our genes seem to pace our metabolism, setting the speed of the internal activities of the body. They may even tell our body how to handle extra calories. This explains why two people can eat identical meals, and one can gain up to 3 times as much weight as the other. Studies show that if one parent is overweight, there is a 40% chance of having an obese child. Having 2 overweight parents doubles the figure to 80%, while only 7% of children of normal weight parents are overweight. Does this mean we should claim fat as our destiny? Certainly not. Knowing if we are more prone to obesity is an advantage. We can plan to offset the genetic effect with diet and exercise. Parents who know about the strong genetic influence can avoid future problems by helping their children develop good eating habits and encouraging regular, vigorous physical activity. In fact, environment, especially during childhood, plays a major role in starting us on the road to obesity. Mothers greatly influence the diet habits of their families. They may mistakenly overfeed, thinking that more is healthier, when actually most obese children become obese adults. A pattern of eating too fast, eating too much, eating too often, and eating the wrong foods becomes a lifestyle we enjoy and are unwilling to give up. Food may serve a psychological need. Often it stems from childhood, when food represented security or love, or when it was used as a reward or bribe. We may eat when we're lonely or depressed, tense or frustrated, worried or bored. Perhaps we use food to replace another habit, such as smoking or drinking. Socioeconomic factors also affect weight. Obesity is more prevalent in poor families and in cultures where lots of starchy foods are served. Many of the health problems of the poor are related to obesity. We are now a more sedentary society, less physically active, so we burn fewer calories. Wonderful inventions like automobiles and elevators and labor-saving devices save time and energy, but not lives. Our national pastime is sitting and watching television, often with our hands in a bowl of high-calorie munchies. More and more we enjoy spectator sports rather than active participation, burning few calories in box seats. As we get older, we are not only less active, but our metabolism slows, and we require fewer calories. Energy needs decrease about 5% every 10 years, starting at around age 40. Ironically, fat gradually replaces muscle, so we can become obese without changing weight. A man of 26 may be a lean, mean 180-pound weightlifter. At 67, he may be fat and flab without gaining an ounce. Whatever our age, our genes, our background, or our environment, we have the power to change our eating habits and control our weight. But beware of dangerous shortcuts to your destination. For many people, dieting is a frantic drive to shed pounds fast. Overnight if possible, but at least by Saturday. Hungering for a magic formula that allows us to enjoy chocolates while our pounds melt away, we sample diets. Grapefruit, protein, rice, fiber, carbohydrate, water, liquid protein, you name it. Some require fasting, others boast all you can eat. Fad diets are doomed to failure at best and may even have deadly results. Fad diets may exclude essential nutrients or focus on just a few foods or on bizarre combinations. The diets are monotonous and impossible to continue for any length of time. Eating habits are unhealthy, so pounds are quickly regained. Many people foolishly bounce from one fad diet to another. This causes emotional distress and reduces the chances of successful dieting. Anyone can make promises based on false theories. Unless their claims in books or magazines misrepresent a particular food, they are not controlled by the Food and Drug Administration. It is up to us to learn the basics of nutrition and be responsible consumers. There are other losing methods. Diet pills are ineffective and may have dangerous side effects. Health spas steam, jiggle, and juggle both fat and figures, often promising effortless weight loss. Benefits are usually temporary, mostly psychological, and extremely costly. Surgery is usually a desperation measure for individuals who are grossly obese and have failed to benefit from other programs. It, too, has limited success and may cause great harm. Refuse to jeopardize your health or the health of those in your care by following a diet that is not nutritionally sound. There is no fast and easy way to lose weight, but there is a safe and effective way. To achieve and maintain ideal weight, we must cut calories, increase activity if possible, and change our eating habits. It is important to think of our weight control program as a lifelong plan for wholesome eating, not a diet that we will go off of one day. The positive changes we make in our eating habits will help us achieve and maintain a healthy weight and guarantee proper nutrition. There are 4 important elements we need to know to plan a weight reduction diet: our present and our ideal weight, the number of calories we need each day, and the requirements of a nutritionally balanced diet. First, we must find out what we should weigh. While it is impossible to allow for individual variations, a weight chart prepared by the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company provides a guide. The tables show a range of desirable weights based on sex, height, and body frame. For example, if you are a woman of medium frame, 5 foot 5 inches tall, your approximate weight range is 127 to 141 pounds. For a man of the same dimensions, the range is 137 to 148 pounds. Big boned and 5 foot 11 and a half, Joe should weigh somewhere between 161 and 186 pounds. The number of calories we need each day to maintain our weight depends on our age, body makeup, and activity. We use approximately 15 calories per pound for light activity. Someone who spends most of the day doing heavy labor might burn 20 or more calories per pound. We can use these numbers to estimate the number of calories we need by multiplying our weight by our level of activity. For example, Joe weighs 200 pounds and is not very active. Multiplying 200 times 15 calories per pound for light activity, he needs about 3,000 calories each day to maintain his weight. Because of his age, he needs fewer calories. Ask your dietitian for more information if you need additional help. Whenever we take in fewer calories than we use, we draw the extra calories from our stored body fat. Remember that there are 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. To reduce our weight by 1 pound, we must either reduce food intake by 3,500 calories, burn up 3,500 calories, or a combination of the two. To lose 1 pound a week, we must consume 500 calories less each day than the number we need to maintain our desired weight. A 1 to 2 pound weight loss per week is a reasonable goal. Never plan for less than 1,200 calories except under supervision of a physician. A diet with so few calories may not provide essential nutrients or allow you to build sound eating habits. It took a while to accumulate extra pounds, so don't hurry to take them off. The target weight and calorie allowance of the reduction diet should be realistic and agreeable to the dieter. The dieter should weigh himself on the same scale at the same time each week. The rate of weight loss will fluctuate due to a shift in water weight. Expect greater weight loss in the first 2 weeks. Later on, weight may remain the same for short periods, even though the diet is followed carefully. Don't be discouraged. Stick with it for the long haul. A word of caution. Anyone who has more than 15 pounds to lose, who has an underlying medical condition, or is pregnant or breastfeeding should consult a physician before starting a reduction diet. The physician will determine ideal weight and recommend a proper diet. It is not enough to simply count calories. Otherwise, your entire daily allowance of calories could be a piece of cake, literally. To diet safely and successfully, the overweight person must follow a balanced diet. Joe's diet is based on the 4 food groups. Many physicians use a food exchange list. Both provide an excellent guide and built-in assurance of proper nutrition. Whatever you follow, the diet must be low enough in calories to cause weight loss, but still include adequate amounts of all the essential nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals. In addition, it should be easy for you to use and provide choices from a variety of foods that you like from each of the major food groups. The foods must be available, affordable, and flexible enough to fit your lifestyle, allowing for bag lunches or restaurant meals. And it should change poor eating habits and establish good ones. Learning to eat less is the best way to diet for people who already have basically good eating habits but need to reduce. Maybe that is your situation, or that of someone you are working with. Don't take extra helpings and eliminate some problem foods like fats and refined carbohydrates. Then simply include the same foods you have eaten at the same time, but cut the portions by 1/4 to 1/2, depending on the desired weight loss. In the beginning, measure or weigh food until you learn to estimate serving sizes. For example, this is what 3 ounces looks like. This is a 1/2 cup. You will be very calorie conscious at first, but soon you will learn which foods contain less calories and what serving size you can have. It makes a big difference. 1/2 cup of refried beans is 150 calories, but if you eat 3/4 cup instead, you're up to 225 calories, quite a lot. If you follow the recommended number of servings of the 4 food groups, you can adjust the calories to allow for weight loss. Choose the lower calorie foods in each group. For example, a 1/2 cup of corn has 83 calories, while a 1/2 cup of cabbage has only 15. Both provide the nutrients of a vegetable serving. A cup of grape juice is 155 calories, while a cup of watermelon is only 50 calories and filled with healthy fiber that satisfies hunger. 10 potato chips are 115 calories, 10 pretzel sticks are only 10. In just 3 items, we have saved 263 calories, more than half the 500 we need to cut on a daily basis to lose 1 pound a week. Those extra calories add up. When they total 3,500, the scale shows 1 less pound. Shout hooray! I've planned a 1,200-calorie menu for one day using the 4 food groups and a book from the Department of Agriculture that lists the calories in foods. Plan menus on a chart like this. Check the list to make sure you get the recommended servings from the basic 4 food groups. The day's total calorie count depends on what choices are made, so choose carefully. If you can afford any extra calories, you may select from the other food list, which includes such items as sweets and condiments. But remember, first account for all of the essential nutrients. On the exchange list, measured foods are grouped with foods that are fairly equal in value. In other words, they have about the same amount of calories, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Foods in any one group can be substituted or exchanged with other foods in the same group. The number of exchanges or servings you may have from each group depends on how many calories are allowed in your diet. For example, on a 1,200-calorie diet, your food would be divided like this. For breakfast, the diet includes 1 sliced orange, which is 1 exchange from the fruit list, 1/2 cup whole wheat flakes, and 1/2 English muffin, each counting as 1 exchange from the starch list, 1 cup skim milk for the milk exchange, and 1 teaspoon margarine for the fat exchange. Lunch includes 1/2 cup tuna from the meat list with lettuce, a free food. This is served open-face on 1 slice white toast, the starch exchange, with 1 teaspoon margarine from the fat list. The vegetable is 1 cup sliced tomatoes. Club soda is a free food. For dinner, I have 1 small skinless chicken breast, about 3 ounces, with 1/2 cup cooked asparagus, 1/2 cup cooked rice from the starch list, and 1 1/4 cups fresh strawberries, 1 exchange from the fruit list. The beverage is coffee, which is a free food. We have given you plenty of information on obesity and dieting. Do you remember? 3 health problems related to obesity. The advantage of knowing the causes of obesity. The 4 elements needed to plan a sound reduction diet. 2 points of a good reduction diet. Now you have all the information you need to plan a safe and effective weight loss program based on healthy eating. However, the hard part is keeping the weight off permanently. Successful weight control demands that we replace our old fattening ways with new ones that will keep us ship-shape, as Joe would say. Psychologists say that our eating patterns are based on habits and attitudes usually formed early in life. To change the way we eat, we must change the way we live, think, and behave. We must modify our behavior. Behavior modification is based on the idea that certain cues trigger behaviors that lead to actions. Each of us links foods to different experiences, occasions, feelings, and needs. To change faulty habits, we must first recognize what they are. If we keep a diary of when, where, and what we eat, and how we feel when we eat, we can recognize the cues that lead to overeating. Then, we work to substitute other activities for eating and to change some methods of eating. For example, we see our favorite chocolate bar in the rack at the checkout counter. We put it in the cart with the healthy foods we've chosen from our diet shopping list, and we eat it on the way home. To modify our behavior, we would anticipate the candy rack, choose a different checkout aisle, and skim through a magazine while we wait. Experts agree behavior modification is the most effective tool we have to change our attitudes toward food and our eating habits. Some of your patients may be involved in behavior modification. Several good books and other resources are available from libraries. Or talk with your dietitian or nursing supervisor. It will be worth your time to explore this method further. The road to successful dieting is paved with a positive attitude. While we can help others reduce, weight control is ultimately up to the individual who must decide, like Joe did, that he can and will succeed. Benjamin Franklin advised, "One should eat to live, not live to eat." Here are some helpful tips to bolster self-discipline of the dieter. Make a list of foods you can eat on your diet and buy only what's on your list. Shop when you aren't hungry. Keep forbidden foods out of the house if possible, but at least out of sight. Choose foods that are bulky and require a lot of chewing. Prepare only amounts you can have. Eat only at the dinner table. Eat slowly. It takes 20 minutes for the full signal to reach your brain. Eat at least 3 meals a day. No skipping. Drink at least 8 glasses of water daily. Keep low-calorie foods on hand for emergencies. Popcorn is a lifesaver. Be more active. This will help you forget about food. Reward yourself for small successes and ask for praise and support from others. Visualize yourself in control. Most of all, believe in your heart that you can do it. By meeting Joe, you have learned how a modified diet, low in cholesterol, fat, and sodium, and high in potassium, is treating Joe's heart disease. You have also learned about the dangers of being overweight and some valuable tips about dieting. However, there is one more thing we should discuss: the use of care delivery strategies to meet the needs of patients with eating difficulties or loss of appetite. Let's visit Agnes to learn about this. Agnes has always prided herself on her independence. At age 78, she was still gardening and driving a car. 2 months ago, Agnes had a cerebrovascular accident called a CVA or stroke. It caused left-sided weakness and paralysis. She has worked hard with her therapists and caregivers on exercises that are gradually helping her regain lost function. Her aide, Terry, faces many challenges in helping Agnes improve her nutrition. Terry uses her knowledge of good nutrition and the basic 4 food groups in caring for Agnes. Her nursing supervisor has helped Terry develop care delivery strategies to meet Agnes's needs. Let's look at Agnes's care plan as Terry puts it into action. Agnes has difficulty helping herself. She has limited use of her left hand and tires easily. Terry encourages Agnes to rest before meals. She helps Agnes get ready for meals, including mouth care. Terry assists Agnes to position herself at the table and arranges the food convenient for her to reach. Terry gives Agnes enough time and encouragement to help herself. Agnes has a poor appetite and eats like a bird. Terry serves food loaded with nutrients: milkshakes, puddings and casseroles with added non-fat dry milk, and nourishing supplements purchased at the pharmacy. She also serves favorites such as apple slices and whole wheat bread. Because of the stroke, Agnes has difficulty swallowing liquids and crunchy foods. Terry thickens liquids and gives Agnes a straw to prevent choking. Terry serves foods that are soft and easy to chew. Agnes should get enough fiber and fluid, about 8 cups a day, to prevent constipation. Agnes is depressed and often feels helpless and hopeless. Terry does many things to improve Agnes's attitude. She often picks a few flowers from her garden to put on the table and serves food on pretty dishes. Terry sits with Agnes and encourages cheerful conversation. Terry used her knowledge and skills to provide Agnes with a healthy and healing environment. She understands Agnes's needs and is meeting those needs with patience and gentle encouragement. Agnes is taking an interest again in herself and others, and is making a real effort to regain her independence. Terry has not just taken care, but has cared. Agnes is the beneficiary of effective teamwork that encourages the best in all its members. In your work, You will care for patients who experience poor appetites for other reasons. Decreased sense of taste and smell, due to aging and disease, makes food less palatable. A dry mouth caused by decreased saliva, or taste buds covered by dentures, may lessen the desire to eat. Some medications interfere with appetite. Pain, fatigue, nausea, and inactivity can also decrease a patient's appetite. You should modify your meal planning and care delivery to meet your patient's needs. Serve your patient's favorite foods whenever you can. It is especially important that foods look, taste, and smell delicious. Remember to use contrasts in color, texture, and flavor. Bland with tart, smooth with crunchy. Mouth care is so important. You can't enjoy food if you have a bad taste in your mouth. Besides affecting appetite, inactivity contributes to bowel irregularity. Promote increased activity, as well as including sufficient fluids and fiber in the diet. For one who is nauseated, small, frequent servings are best. Talk with your supervisor about ways you can modify your patient's diet and eating patterns to improve appetite and nutrition. Eat a variety of foods in a nutritionally balanced diet. Reduce fat, especially saturated fat and cholesterol. Maintain your ideal weight. Eat more starches and fiber. Limit foods high in sugars. Reduce salt and sodium. Use alcohol in moderation or not at all. Follow the yellow brick road to optimum health and take your family and patients with you.